Hello and welcome to CIS 4510 IT Project Management. In this session, we will continue addressing IT project cost and cost management. The last process of cost management is cost control. Cost control is the process of monitoring the project cost changes and budget issues, making sure that everything is going as planned. The project manager compares the actual cost to the baseline cost, making sure it's within the allowed limits. Any abnormalities in the cost will trigger the proper action of correction. To control costs, we measure the resources consumed in each process and we measure how much has been accomplished so far. We compare the collected actual values to the planned or projected cost of the consumed resources, making sure that we are still within the given standards. If there are any deviations from the planned, correction action will be established and the project manager will update the plan to reflect the recent changes. Causes of variability will be identified and isolated to prevent or minimize any future deviation. To avoid any problems of cost variability, planning of the work to be done or to be performed should be done. As we estimated the time, a good estimation for the resources and the cost should be also completed. The scope should be clearly understood and communicated. Once we have the estimated cost, a controlled budget will be authorized, tying the budget to a physical process of the project. In addition, there should be periodic re-estimation of time and cost to complete remaining work. To control costs, we use tools and techniques to compare actual cost with planned cost. In the following few slides, we will explain how to do that. The earned value management is the project performance measurement technique that is used to track the progress and status of the project and forecast the future performance of the project. Actually, it integrates the scope, time, and cost data together. When given original plan plus approved changes, or what's called a baseline, earned value management can determine how well the project is meeting its goals. Actual information must be documented periodically to be able to use the earned value management, and in many organizations it depends on that value to manage and control their project. To calculate the earned value, we need to look at some of the concepts or some of the equations that will be used in that. So for the planned value, formerly called the budget cost of work schedule, BCWS, also called as a budget, is the portion of the approved total cost estimate planned to be spent on an activity during a given period. And this is what's planned, so that's why we call it the planned value. Now, the planned value can be calculated by multiplying the hourly rate by the total hours planned or scheduled for an activity. Once the activity be done, we can calculate the actual cost, and the actual cost, which is formally called the actual cost of work performed, and that's ACWP, is the total of direct and indirect costs incurred in accomplishing work on an activity during a given period. The actual cost is equal to the hourly rate multiplied by the total hours spent, the actual hours that's been spent. Now, by doing that, then we have a comparison between the actual and the planned value, and this is one of the ways to know that everything is going within the planned budget. The earned value is formally called the budget cost of work performed, or BCWP, which is an estimate of the value of the physical work actually completed. So the earned value is equal to the baseline cost multiplied by the percentage complete, or the percent complete actual. The earned value is based on the original planned costs for the project or activity and the rate at which the team is completing work on the project or activity to date. To find the earned value, we need to find percent of completed planned, or complete planned, and percent of completed actual. So the percent of completed planned is the percentage of the work which was planned to be completed by the reporting date. This is calculated using the following formula. Percent of completed planned is equal to the planned value divided by the BAC, which is the budget at completion. The percent of completed actual is the percentage of work which was actually completed by the reporting date. This is calculated using the following formula. Percent completed actual is equal to the actual cost divided by the estimate at completion. This chart or the chart in this slide explain the way to monitor cost performance through monitoring the earned value compared to actual and planned, and judge if we have a problem or not. As you can see, we have the actual cost up here, the earned value down here, and this is the planned. So if we have a planned value that's way above or way below the earned value or the actual cost, then we have a problem. This is one of the ways or techniques or tools that we use to monitor the cost within the project. Schedule variability can be measured using schedule variance, and we refer to that as SV, which indicates how much ahead or behind the project schedule is. And what this does actually translate the schedule into money. So people in finance can understand what does that delay mean, or how much money would it cost to delay the project. So to do that, we use the following formula. The scheduling variance is equal to earned value, which is we just calculated, minus the planned value, and that will give me the difference between the two. As we said in the previous slide, we talked about the chart and how the big difference between the planned value and the earned value will create a problem, or will trigger a problem. We will see that there is a problem or a delay in the schedule. In case of positive schedule variance, it indicates that the project ahead of schedule, which is good. Now, sometimes if it's way ahead of schedule, that's not good. Then there is a problem with that, maybe lower quality. So not everybody will be happy in extreme ahead of time schedule. Okay, but if it was just a little bit ahead, that will be fine. In case of negative schedule variance, it indicates that the project is behind schedule. To measure the variability in the cost, we use the cost variance, which is referred to as CV, which compares deviation from the budget. The cost variance does not provide a measure of comparison between work scheduled and work accomplished. It indicates how much over or under budget the project is. The cost variance is equal to earned value minus actual cost. If we got a positive cost variance, that indicates that the project is under budget, and if it was negative, then the project is over budget. The schedule variance percent indicates how much ahead or behind schedule the project is in terms of percentage. And sometimes when we refer to something in percentage, it's more understandable to some people than just giving a certain amount. So if we calculated the SV percent, it will be through the formula, which is schedule variance divided by the planned value. If we got a positive variance percent, then that indicates how much percent it's ahead of schedule. If it was negative, then that will indicate the percentage that it's behind schedule. The cost variance percent indicates how much over or under budget the project in terms of percentage, and we refer to that as CV percent. And the CV percent is equal to cost variance divided by earned value. The positive variance percent indicates percentage of under budget, and the negative variance percent indicates the percent over budget. The graph in this slide shows the upper and lower limits of the cost, and in the middle we can see the projected cost and the actual cost. Any variability that will exceed the provided limits will trigger an alert, and a course of action will be taken to adjust the cost and keep it within budget. The reporting graph with respect to time will include actual cost, planned cost, cost variance, schedule variance, and earned value. And by looking at the graph, we will know if we are ahead of time or behind schedule, or if we are under budget or over budget. Schedule performance indicator is an index showing the efficiency of the time utilized on the project, and SPI can be calculated by dividing the earned value by the planned value. So SPI value if it's above 1, it indicates that the project team is very efficient in utilizing the time allocated to the project. If it was below 1, then that indicates that the team is less efficient in utilizing the time allocated to the project. For the cost performance indicator, which is the index of showing the efficiency of utilizing the resources allocated to the project, can be calculated by dividing the earned value by the actual cost. If CPI value was above 1, that indicates the efficiency in utilizing the resources allocated to the project is good. If it was below 1, then that indicates that utilizing the resources, or the efficiency in utilizing the resources allocated to the project, is not good. To illustrate the concepts, or the concept of the earned value management and all the formulas, assume a project that has exactly one task. So instead of having multi-activities, we have one task or one activity. The task was baselined at 8 hours period, but 11 hours have been spent so far, and the estimated to complete is 1 additional hour. That's a total of 12 hours instead of 8 hours. The task was to have been completed already. Assume an hourly rate of $100 per hour. Using this information, calculate the planned value, the actual cost, the earned value, the estimated actual, or the estimated at completion, the budget at completion, the schedule variance, the cost variance, and the two indexes, the schedule and cost performance indexes. Of course, in the way you need to calculate the percent completed planned and the percent completed actual to be able to calculate the earned value and the other values. Since the hourly rate is 100 and the planned value is equal to hourly rate times the total hours scheduled for that activity, then the planned value is equal to 100 times 8, which is $800. The actual cost equal the hourly rate times the actual hours spent in performing that activity. And as we know from the question, it was telling us that instead of 8 hours, so far they spent 11 hours. So $100 per hour multiplied by 11 hours, that will give us $1,100. Now the budget at completion, or BAC, is equal to the baseline effort hours times the hourly rate, which is in this case equal to 8 times 100, and that's the baseline that we agreed on at the beginning of the project, which is $800. The estimated at completion is equal to the actual cost plus the estimated to completion, and we need one additional hour to complete the project with a rate of 100. Then we need additional amount of 100 to complete. So back to the estimated or the estimate at completion, we add the actual, which was 1100, to the 100 that's needed to complete the project, and that's a total of $1,200. The percent of completed planned is equal to the planned value divided by the budget at completion multiplied by 100. Now to convert into percent, we need to multiply that last 100%. So it will be 800 divided by 800 multiplied by the 100%, which is equal to 100%. Since 800 over 800 is 1, multiplied by 100%, then it will be 100%. Now for the percent of completed actual, it's equal to actual cost divided by estimated at completion multiplied by 100%. That's 1100 divided by 1200 times the 100%, which is equal to 91.7%. Now we can calculate the earned value, which is equal to the baseline cost, which was 800, times percentage of completed actual, which was 91.7%, and the earned value will equal to $734. Let us calculate the variability in the schedule and the cost, which provide the boundaries that we need to stay within. Since the schedule variance is equal to earned value minus planned value, which is 734 minus 800, that will equal to minus $66, which is the value of the schedule variance. Now notice that value came in negative, which means that the project is behind schedule. Calculating the cost variance, which is equal to earned value minus actual cost, that is 734 minus 1100, which is equal to minus or negative $366. And again, we notice that the negative value indicates that the cost there is a cost overrun, which means the project is over budget. One of the other things manager can use to measure project performance are the schedule and the cost performance indicators. The schedule performance indicator equal to earned value divided by planned value, which is equal to $734 divided by $800, which is equal to 0.9175. Now this means that the project team is less efficient in utilizing the time allocated to the project, since it's less than 1. The cost performance indicator is equal to earned value divided by actual cost, and that's 734 divided by 1100. So the value will equal to 0.67, which means that the efficiency utilizing the resources allocated to the project is not good, since it's less than 1. As the project progresses, more details and more information will be available. Hence, the estimated at completion cost can be calculated and a forecast of the completion time and budget can be established. To complete schedule performance indicator is or it's called to complete schedule performance indicator or TSPI, which is a measure or an index that shows the efficiency at which the remaining time on the project should be utilized. To complete schedule performance indicator, total budget minus earned value divided by total budget minus planned value. If the value of the TSBI above 1, it indicates that project team can be lenient in utilizing the remaining time allocated to the project. That means they have enough time to perform the project activities. If the value of the TSPI, it indicates a project team needs to work harder in utilizing the remaining time allocated to the project. That means that they are tight on time. Some of the problems that will face project managers are the poor estimation or the poor standards, which will lead to unrealistic budgets. Out of the sequence activities also could lead to a problem, which will start and be completed but not following the planned sequence or the planned time. Also creating inadequate work breakdown structure that might cause a problem. In addition, the lack of management policy on reporting and control practices. And of course, the poor work definition at the lower levels of the organization. Additional problems could result from the reduction of the budget to be able to compete in bids or to eliminate extra project expenditure. Inadequate planning that result in unnoticed or often uncontrolled increases in the scope of effort. Poor comparison of actual and planned costs, schedule delays that require overtime or ideal time costing, material escalation factors that are unrealistic, and unforeseen technical problems. The problem in cost control happens in the following area. It could happen on the organizational level, such as inadequate work breakdown structure, poor work definition at working levels, lack of formal system procedures. It could happen also in the planning and budgeting areas, such as inadequate forward planning, over allocation of budget, poor integration of budget schedule work authorization. It could happen in the accounting area, which is the inability to account for cost of material on applied basis. It could happen during the analysis or analysis period or in the analysis area, which is determination of status not based on work package completion and comparison of actual versus planned cost at improper levels. And also it could happen during the revision or at the revision area or revision department, which is failure to maintain valid measurements baseline. We can also categorize cost problems based on the different phases of the project timeline, such as the proposal phase. In the proposal phase, there could be a failure to understand customer requirements or unrealistic appraisal of in-house capabilities or understanding time requirements or misunderstanding the time requirements. On the planning phase, we could have omissions of some activities by mistake, inaccuracy of the work breakdown structure, misinterpretation of information, use of wrong estimating techniques, failure to identify major cost elements, failure to assess risks. On the negotiation phase or during the negotiation phase, uh, forcing a speedy compromise, procurement ceiling cost, negotiation team that must win this one by any mean, and that can cause a problem. On the contractual phase, the contractual discrepancies during writing the contract, the statement of work different from the request for proposal requirements, and proposal team different from project team, and this causes a very major issue when the two teams are different. On the design phase, we could have problems such as accepting customer requests without management approval, and that's not recommended. Problems in customer communications channels and data items, problems in design review meetings. In the production or execution phase, we have excessive material costs, specifications that are not acceptable, and manufacturing and engineering disagreement. And this happens frequently because of the differences between what the engineering design was and what the manufacturing team was implementing. Due to the nature of IT project, there are many problems that will happen at all levels and during all phases, especially if there was an extreme drop in the cost of technology that's used in certain area, or the project discommunication or continuation of one of the products that's being used in the project. IT project managers should have a vast experience in dealing with such issues, keeping the project cost and schedule within the given limits. That will be all for this session. If you have any questions, you can email it to me. Thank you and have a great day.